We are live, and we're back with Tryston to answer the second question on interests and hobbies. Go ahead.
So, my hobbies, since I was a kid, I've been playing video games. I'm sure everybody else around my age has too. But I've always had like this really huge fixation on fighting games specifically. Usually those games are a lot more difficult for other people to get into, but I'm not necessarily good at them, but I really enjoy them for the difficulty and, just the one-on-one fighting as opposed to, team games and other stuff like that. Other interests, I've wanted to get into music. I've wanted to do art, all the arts. Of course, you already know about my acting and my voice acting, and just things like that. I've always been I love using my hands, even though, throughout my life I haven't necessarily been good at it, quote unquote.
Could you give us a specific example of the tactics you would employ in a video game? And
okay,
just more detail, please.
Okay, so for me, I always make sure that I know the basics, like what the character can do, like what each button does, what direction plus whatever button does what. I make sure that I get all that down. And sometimes I usually don't go much further than that. I'm very solid at what I play. Like, I tend to focus on things that are universal. So, like, if I were to play a fighting game, a 2D fighting game, like Street Fighter or something like that, I could easily translate my abilities or my focus on, once again, learning what does what to a 3D fighting game, which are usually much more difficult. But yeah, I usually focus on pressure, just closing everyone's ways, like making you feel trapped. That's usually my play style in a lot of things. I like playing control based.
Do you ever play those games where you on a mic and other people can hear you?
Yeah. League of Legends.
What is that like in terms of the competition and the aggression?
It depends on which group you're in, to be honest. It's different people like to, other people like to be loud and be so focused on the details that they let themselves go, and other people are really passive and just like, yeah, I accept that loss, or yeah, I messed up here, I should probably address that. And that's actually me. I'm more focused on my own flaws than the game's flaws itself. Like, I always think that I can adapt to a situation as opposed to,
if you're playing against someone who is trash talking you and you don't like them, do you play better?
Do I play better because they're trash talking?
Yeah, because does that make you focus more? The fact that you want to beat them more.
I've had this thing, yeah. I've had this thing since I was a kid, and my dad used to play video games with me where he would always beat me up and be like, well, you can't have this unless you beat me in this game. And I'm just like, okay. And I would just sit there for hours and hours just getting beat up. But like, I would never give up. I just sit there. And then my dad gets tired. And so I would say that I beat him because he's about to quit playing games with me. So I'm very into, my style is very, like, I guess the word you could use is attrition. I try to beat out. Yeah. So
wear them down. Wear your opponent down.
Mm-hmm.
Bore them to death.
That's another. Yeah, I actually do play pretty lame in those games. I react to whatever somebody else is doing. I don't ever really stick my arm out or. make too many bold moves.
Would you like to some of those skills to real life?
Yeah,
With the,
like I'm sort of the same in real life too, where it's like I analyze people around me, I focus on them, and then I react to them, or I say certain things to those people.
yeah, you could. Could you tell us about that thing you told us about
Oh, yes.
when we first started chatting? That's very interesting.
So yeah, when I was a kid, once again, very stressed out, weird childhood, all that. Whenever I tell people this, I sound crazy. So, um, when I was a kid, I used to just pick random people in my classes, and I would start to dissect them, kind of, in a way that I would like ask them certain questions. I would ask them just random questions that whatever came up to my mind, and just I would imagine how they would answer, and then I'd be like, okay, well, does that fit? Yes or no? And then if it did, then I would be able to understand the person. I think that was I was starting to understand people that way. Um, I actually met some of my greatest friends from me being able to do that, and they're still around today. So I still find it to be really weird personally. But
So you would. So do you think most of the time you're looking forward one or two steps, but not like not got a 20-year plan, but like always like one or two
yeah,
steps, and you want
when it,
to be, and you want to be like one or two steps ahead of everybody else.
yes, in a way. I never really thought of it as that. I just want to be there when things go down. Like I don't want to be surprised. I don't want to be caught off guard. I always want to have a leveled head when certain things happen. So if I catch on to somebody's characteristics, then I'll be like, yeah, I could imagine them reacting in this way in this certain situation. So I wouldn't be surprised when it comes along. Um, so yeah, that's more of my focus.
Um,
Yeah, I guess that does lead me two steps ahead in a way, because a lot of people would get so caught off guard. They're like, "How did you know I was going to do that?" I'm just like, "I just know you as a person."
and this is this any connection? Is this one of the reasons why you got into typology?
Yes, I didn't necessarily like doing it. I mean, I just made it feels like a habit that I've gotten into where I like reading people. I've also been really good at it when it comes to typing other people. Um, but yeah, I've never really been able to pinpoint myself. Yes, I want to understand. Yes, that's a good way of putting it, Ben. I want to understand my prey. um, but yeah, like I've always really been interested in how people thought, not necessarily how their actions, or like I would never really focused on what they thought of me, as opposed to what they think in general. I just want to see, okay, what are your thoughts on this specific topic, or is this person a Republican or a Democrat based on how they, you know,
So, so do you want to know about people in order to have an idea of the things that they will do in future, so you can sort of predict their actions?
um actually, I think of it as well, beforehand, it used to be a defense mechanism. But once again, I don't ever really think that far ahead. It's always like, okay, yeah, I just pick up on these things that people would call subtle and roll with them. I take sort of, I guess you could say I take them to heart, but not necessarily, because I don't really like using that term.
So, so what age were you when you got into typology, and how did you get into it?
I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Well, no, I had some idea, but I was just going through a really rebellious phase, and I was like, I should probably figure out who I am, what I like to do, even though once again I already knew all this stuff. Um, So I just took test after test after test after test, and then I came across the humanetics test, and that typed me as an INFP. So I don't know about that one. That test is pretty
Oh,
shady.
I got INFJ, as did millions of other people, I suppose.
Wow. Yeah. Pretty interesting how
And
that
then
test, everybody's INFJ.
it proceeded to tell us that we are the rarest of the types. I'm surprised it then didn't ask us to like sign up for something afterwards and sort of like
Since you're so rare.
Make it a consistent con, because
Yeah, I ran into that test. Then I joined, and this is all in junior year of high school. So I've been into this stuff for 2 years now, I want to say. So, I was in psychology class, and then my teacher brought up something about MBTI or Young, and I looked up Young, and then apparently he had the system of stuff, and I was like, oh, let me go research the stuff, and I got to do it like crazy.
What were you like towards the psychology class? How good were you at it, and how much interest did you have for it?
I was really into it, like hardcore. But I was pretty good at it too. Pretty decent for a kid that, I was at the time, I was more focused on girls. But
the two things can mesh.
I like that.
Understanding people also includes understanding girls, so the two come together.
That's true. But at the time, I had my own set of psychology that I would, once again, use on people. So I would read people in my own little way and, sort of work things out that way.
Do you want to divulge some of your secrets?
I don't know, maybe another time. It's super secret after all. So
okay. So how much have you got into typology in terms of the depth of it?
The farthest I've gotten, honestly, which took me forever, was just learning the functions, being able to point out each and every function. Or, sometimes I just get these I just look at someone or I hear someone talk, and, I'm able to compare them to a friend of mine that I knew or still know and be like, yeah, you definitely remind me of this person. And it's just mannerisms, and I just catch on to, once again, things that are going on right there, and I sort of predict where it's going to go, and then I'd be like, okay, yeah, I sort of had this prediction with this person from before. So
if you give us examples of the sort of things you notice, the sort of things you see, the sort of things you hear, it will give people an idea of the functions that you're using as you describe those things in detail.
I usually look for body language, tone, just the way they seem to enjoy certain subjects, other subjects that they tend to avoid.
This is like body language this is not like body language that you've got from a book. This is like your own body language from your own experience.
I made it all up in my head, just made up. I've just been naturally able to pick up on things like that. And even my family, they used to be very shocked, or they still do. They're still very shocked at how accurate I can be when it comes to understanding what's going on with a person.
Would you say in general you're more observant than most people?
Yes. But I wouldn't say that, that's all I do. It's more like I see you, I understand you rather quickly, and then I move on. It just comes naturally to me, that ability.
Could you give us an example of the way you're able to categorize the things someone says means to a certain type? Like, if you give you like the thought process of that.
It's never usually what they say. I mean, it's just like a lot of things that go into. It's not just about what they say, you know. It's it's really hard for me to describe.
Oh, well, okay,
It's something that I do.
if you say the things that I do that are like indicative of my type, that will give people an idea of how observant you are.
Okay, so Ben, I mean, I'm not sure if this is a socionics video or. So you would be an INTJ. And
Whoa, 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 whoa,
socion.
whoa! INTP. If you just say,
Yeah, you're an
I mean,
INTP.
you use the MBTI code like INTP,
Okay.
TINE.
So you're
Yeah.
an INTP. So naturally, I see the need for simplicity. Well, not necessarily, but you create your own simplicity. But you also tend to get really excited about certain subjects that just seem to pop out of nowhere for you. I see your NE all over the place all the time. But you seem a lot more focused and very observant because you are making these videos after all. I feel like any Dom wouldn't necessarily, want to make videos like this.
How do you mean? What do you think their videos would be like?
More on themselves.
Oh, more on themselves. Well, I'm glad not to be like an ENTP. There are some good ones out there. I think Jeff mentioned Gen Dragon, so that's one we can put in the plus column.
Will do.
Because just so folks know, if the most, would you say, Tryston, that the most distinctive Facebook group, if you were to like take the
most distinctive, yeah, every group has their own little thing going on, but I would definitely say that ENTPs,
it's like
have the shock factor going for them.
If you like just took a grab from each of the group, like of the post, without having the name of the group on, you could probably say, oh yeah, that's the ENTP group.
Mm-hmm. Just on certain days, specific days, they have this way of, I don't even know how to put it. They make me laugh, but at the same time, I'm well aware that it can offend people.
Yeah, and it's because they're younger. Where if it was like ENTP is over 30, they've like learnt, there's things like they've learnt not to say congratulations to that fat woman thinking that she's pregnant, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Right.
I love them though. They're just weird.
Oh dear, I went into ENTP mode then. I shouldn't have said that. Right. So any other hobbies and interests besides killing people in a cyber fantasy?
Yeah. I think that's all there is to me, Ben. I mean, I just want to kill people. You just gotta kill people.
Did you say that one of your fantasies would be to be being a hitman?
My biggest fantasy actually is to live with the monks in China. That's just dropping everything I have around me and going to go live with them. I don't feel like that wouldn't last long, but I would love to just do it and just get out of my system. That way I know, okay, that won't work for me. That's not what I want. But that's one of my hugest fantasies.
Right. So would you like being a member of the Secret Service?
I don't know. What would they do with a man like me, Ben? I don't know. I've thought about that. It's always crossed my mind. It still does to this day, joining the military and things like that. But I don't know. I might end up doing it.
Right.
Just to see it, because I'd rather not just think about it for so long. I'd rather just go and do things.
Oh, in the area of typology, you've got the 4 scales. What do you think of the accuracy of each of the 4 scales?
What do you mean?
Well, like, how accurate do you think like introversion versus extroversion is? Then sensing, intuiting, thinking, feeling, and judging, perceiving?
Introversion, extroversion. I feel like that for certain types may be a little difficult. I feel like that's the one that probably sways the most, depending on how you have been or how you feel that day. Because you
Right.
may have gotten in a fight with someone that day and you're just like, no, I don't want to hang out with people. I never hang out with people because they don't talk to me. I don't talk, all that. It's, I just think testing in general, if you're going to end up using that kind of scale for testing, is it's not good.
I think that Dave said that when they sort of like tested these things, like if they were to, obviously they have the score which gives the strength of preference, that a lot of people are like this, a bell-shaped curve. So you have a lot of people in the middle who are like close on introversion and extroversion, and then you have like a few people who are like extreme extroverts and then extreme introverts. And then he said that for when it's sensing and intuiting, it's more like that, two hills.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you almost think that that's very, very easy for you to see, like, oh, this person's an intuiting type, this person's a sensing type?
I mean, once again, I don't know how I do it. I just pick up on it. It's just right there in front of my face, and then I just react. Always.
Do you think that you're good at seeing NP types because it's their essence?
Yeah. I have this way of knowing those. I've been able to pick out those types specifically. Yeah.
What is it about them that annoys you?
The lack of they seem to have a direction, and then just the sidetracking.
Right.
Once again, I'm very focused. I like to just finish one topic, move on to the next one, and just move the day that way. But they just, yeah. We don't finish. It's like nothing really gets finished. It's like there's always a to be continued, and I don't like to be continued. I like closure,
What's your taste in music like? How is it? Is it focused or varied?
My taste in music used to be no. There's not really much variation. It's usually very angry. That's the first word that comes to my mind with my music. Very aggressive music. Just a lot of gets you pumped. I like stuff that gets you pumped. Gets you excited for something.
Do you like The Prodigy?
Yes.
Thumbs
when I was
up?
a kid, I used to just yeah. Ah man. I used to listen to them like crazy. But I'm also, into the classic R&B from the 70s, Marvin Gaye and all that because of my family. My grandma used to be into that stuff like crazy, and I love that kind of music. And 80s music. But most of my music now that I'm into, I could definitely just say that I'm into the aggressive stuff, the darker side of things, more reality-based music.
In terms of typology, I remembered some of your. Did you say something? I think you said something insightful about, or the way you see introverted feeling versus extroverted feeling.
I don't know, man. I say a lot of insightful stuff.
Yeah.
Introverted feeling, it's very focused on the self. That's just all there is to it. This never really once crossed their minds, that somebody else might be involved. Somebody else's experience is just as important as your own. So I've had little issues with introverted feelers here and there, but
Which particular types?
INFPs.
Oh, I interviewed the nice one yesterday. So
You know, but it's different. It depends
yeah,
on where they are in life. I find that INFPs my age,
right.
I can't make sense of them. They drive me crazy.
Yeah,
But whenever they're like older than me, it's just like a completely different person. Um, Almost like they're not even that type anymore to begin. Like they were never that type to begin with. Um, but yeah, I just really struggle with them specifically. I don't know what it is. INTPs, I don't really struggle with. It's more of like I don't know. It's just the NE thing. I don't know. It just I like where you guys are going most of the time, but then once again,
so it's
just
like
yeah,
you were great until you got sidetracked.
yeah. It's like okay, what are we doing? Wait, no, we were talking about what's happening, and then I just I mean I enjoy it. It shows that you're having a good time, and I mean like if you weren't doing it, then it'd be a problem. So you're being yourself. That's important. But shoo, I can't. It seems like a
Right.
lot.
Okay. Seems like a lot.
Yeah,
What seems like a lot?
the whole sidetracking. It's a lot on
Oh,
your mind at once.
well, it just keeps switching. And it
Oh,
does.
it's oh, I see.
So, got to write. So we forget where we were, so we have to write things down, or we'll. I was gonna. I was about to say be like a certain type, but I wasn't not gonna mention that type because I might be wrong. So I distracted myself. Any other hobbies and interests?
Um,
Oh
we
yes.
already talked. What?
Yeah, I think you know about Enneagram, don't you? What do you think of it?
I know very little, but it's pretty good insight into personal drives of a person. Yeah, just yeah. That's what I see it as. It's just what do you want to do? Who are you? You know, like ENFP, all of those. You know, you're that's just a label, and it's like okay, what do you do with that label? That's what I see Enneagram as.
Do you think Enneagram is more useful for the individual and people that they know very well? Because then they can sort of like ask people certain questions to like get at their motivations.
Hmm. Kind of. Yeah, that's like to me that seems like an easy way, but I'm always taking the hard way. So I just like typing people and then going with that. But I never really look into people's enneagrams or how much it really counts. Although I do see it in people all the time. But, you know, most of the time I just don't really go that far. Like for me personally, I don't know what my enneagram is for sure. So
Right. We could have you in a hangout with Crystal, because
okay.
she knows a heck of a lot about Enneagram. We'd have a hangout about trying to work out your Enneagram. Right. Anything else? Oh yes. Oh, it's showing you some socionics, some Victor socionics stuff. What do you think of it? Bearing in mind he's going to be listening, reading the transcript of this.
Um, I think it's pretty cool. To be honest, it's pretty well put together. I'm surprised. I actually like it. You know, it's the first thing that I've actually come across that was like, you know, I can get behind this. I mean, my other interest, of course, is Bruce Lee, but that doesn't. That's like a little thing. I like. No, I'm a huge fan of him. I've seen all his movies like countless times. Just a big hero of mine.
Did he have that 1 inch punch?
Yes. He also had this saying that whenever it comes, I think it was something like, I don't hit, it hits all by itself. Like, he just reacts to whatever's happening around him. His body just does whatever it needs to do in order to get out of a situation. That's so true for me. Once again, I'm very reactive. I just change to fit my surroundings.
So it would be like having a clear mind and the ability to react quickly and react in the right way.
Yes, but not even. It's not necessarily seen as the right way, because if you actually look at some of the movements he did, it's all very unorthodox. So if you were to ask a karate instructor or someone like that, they'll be like, I don't know what he just did. And what he'll say is that I don't know either. It just worked. So that's been the same for me. Even when I was doing martial arts as a kid, I went through judo, karate, and then taekwondo, because all the teachers just filtered out. They just kept leaving, and eventually I just put them all together. So towards the end, people didn't know what I was doing. But I found like that mixture was very, very helpful in a lot of situations. Specifically because taekwondo is just so much about kicking and very high risk movements, very flashy. And
Yeah, I did taekwondo. It was a bit tricky on my legs. Not got the flexibility in the legs. So I think
nor did I. So, I took more of like a heavy hitting, once again, defensive approach, reading my opponent's movements, trying to figure out what they're doing, what they're about. But yeah, I definitely was not flexible as a kid. I was actually a very, very tubby kid, very, very fat kid. But I enjoyed every little bit of it.
right. I think that. Do you think there's anything else to say?
I'm good.
Okay, no, we'll end for the moment. And the reason why I'm ending, folks, is that I don't want to reveal any information about the type that we both think Tryston is. That's why.